Okay, welcome to Outlaw Woodworking. Today I'm going to show you how to quickly make a jar. And I've tried to make jars different ways, and this is the way that I've found has been the easiest. So we're going to do a jar with a lid, and we're going to show you how to do the threading tool and everything.
There he goes, it's a working man. He's trying to make a living any way he can. And he'll break his back for $1 or $2. Oh, there ain't no shame in what he do. Oh, work it out.
So we're going to go ahead, create sketch. I'm going to draw it from the side. We'll go ahead and get our line tool. Our jar is going to be 3 inches in diameter, so we're going to put 1.5, enter. We're going to go up 3. It's going to be 3 inches tall. We're going to have offset for the lid to be smooth there, so we're going to put 0.25, and we're going to go up 1. So there's kind of the outline of our jar right there. Now we'll go ahead and offset this line. Actually, we'll go ahead and draw a line. I usually like the thickness of the jar, of the screws, to be about 1/4 inch. So we'll put 0.25, enter. And then we'll go ahead and come down. We'll come down 1.25. And we'll come over 0.75. No. We'll come over 0.375. 0.375, enter. That should give us an 1/8 inch here. So if we were to highlight this one and this one, and just go up here and use the offset tool and type in negative 0.125, that'll give us that inside right there. So all I have to do now is connect this bottom one, and that gives us that's the shell of our jar. Now so we've got one to trim right here. So if you go up here to your trim tool, we're going to get that one out of there. Okay, that's our jar right there. So now if we highlight this, oops, something's wrong right there. What happened here? Okay. Now we should be able to have a solid, there we go. Okay. Now what we want to do is we're going to go up here to solids, the revolve tool, and instead of a new body, we're going to create a new component. And then we're basically just going to revolve this. There's our jar. Hit OK. Pretty simple right there, and it's the exact size that I wanted, already hollowed out. We'll do a few things to it when we after we get it all done. We'll put a few more little details in it, but for now that's the jar. So we'll rename it jar. That way we can shut it on and off. Jar, enter. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn our sketch back on, and we're going to turn the jar off. So now we can see the jar. We're going to draw the lid. So we're going to go up here, sketch, from that plane, same plane as before, and we're going to do the same thing. We're basically going to draw the lid exactly where this outside piece is, and we want to go up 0.125, enter, and we want to match this one right here. And hit escape. And there's our lid right there. Pretty easy, right? Okay, the next thing we need to do is go ahead and create a component. So we're going to go back up to solid, hit revolve, create a new component, and revolve that. Okay, now you can see the lid. Now we need to hit OK. So there's our new component. So if you have, so basically you turn your jar back on, there's your jar. Now what we want to do before we do the next step is we want to go ahead, we're going to turn the lid off. We'll go ahead and rename that lid. Hit enter. And we're going to turn the lid off. Now here's where we're going to go ahead and put our threads on now. So we're going to highlight the outside of this thing. We're going to create threads. And the one, I like that this thread's fine. And you can see right hand. Now what you need to do here, in order to do a 3D print, you need to hit modeled. And that'll create that thread right there, and go ahead and hit OK. So there's your threads. Now what I like to do, I like to put a little chamfer in the top of that. So what we want to do is go ahead and hit the top. What I do is I turn off the threads and then come down here to chamfer, and we'll hit 0.125. 0.125, enter, and see how it created a little top. What it'll do is it'll make the threads a little easier to work. So we'll go ahead and unsuppress the threads, and there you go. Now, what we want to do now, we want to turn our lid back on, and we want to come up here to inspect and create a section analysis. And we're going to go ahead and, let's see, we'll do it from this plane right here, and hit OK. So we've created a section analysis to be able to look at it. And there we are right there. Now what we want to do, we want to turn off the jar and create threads on the inside of this cap. And they'll be the exact same thing, right hand, and we'll hit modeled, and we'll hit OK. Now what we're going to do is turn the jar back on, and we're going to turn, we already have section analysis, so let's take a look at that. Now you can see it's pretty tight in there. Now what we want to do is, we don't want that to be that tight. So what we're going to do, we're going to turn off the lid, or no, I'm sorry, we're going to turn off the jar, and we're going to basically make these threads a little looser. So we're going to go ahead and hold the shift key down and highlight all these threads. There we go. Now what we want to do is we want to use the push-pull right here in the sheet metal, push-pull, and we want to do a negative 0.03. 0.03. And that should have shrunk up those threads a little bit. Now we'll go ahead and hit OK, and we will go back and turn the jar on, and you'll see we have this gap in between these threads. Now if I look up here, this lid is really tight up there. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and pull this down a little, or pull the lid up a little bit, just a little bit. So what we're going to do is rotate this a little bit. We're going to go ahead and grab, let's see how I'm going to do that. I want to grab that lid. So let's turn off the jar. I don't want to grab that by accident. We'll go ahead and grab that and do a push-pull. Now you can see it's coming down, so we want to be negative, and we'll do the same. We'll do a 0.03, and that came down, and I didn't want it to go oh no, I didn't put negative, so it needs to be negative 0.03, and that should go up. Okay, so let's hit OK. Let's go back. Now we want to go ahead and turn our jar back on. Now you can see now I have a gap in the top of the lid, and I got a gap around all of the, so this lid should screw on really nice and easy. Okay, there is our jar, and with the threads. Now what we want to do a couple things right here. We're going to we're going to turn off the section analysis. We're going to start with the lid. Now what I want to do, I want to put a little bit of, I want to dress it up a little bit. So we'll highlight that. We'll go up here to fillet and we'll put 0.125, basically an 1/8 inch fillet. And we'll do the same thing on the top of the lid. Repeat fillet, and we will hit 0.125. 0.125 gives it kind of a nice little touch. Now we'll turn the lid off, turn the jar on. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do on the bottom, we're going to do the same 1/8 inch fillet, 0.125, hit enter, rotate it, and we'll do a little on that right there too. Repeat fillet, 0.125, enter, there you are. So now if you turn your lid back on, you can see it's a little bit nicer. Nothing fancy, but now there's a couple things I want to do. There's two more things to do right here. Let's rotate it around. Now you can see you have this vertical inside here. We don't want that, because what happens is when you're printing, you don't want to have to put supports on the inside of your jar. So the first thing we're going to do, we're actually going to rotate this around a little bit, and you can see at the bottom it's 90 degree, and that's kind of a weak spot right there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put a little bit of a chamfer in there, not much. We'll do 0.125 in the inside, and we'll hit OK. So you can see how it kind of gave it a little more stiffness right there. Now up here we need to do something different. We need this to be a bigger, it needs to come from here all the way down to there. So what we need to do, okay, that's perfect right there. See, we needed to have the 2 dimensions. So we basically needed a 3/8 chamfer inside there. So we'll hit OK. Now if you scroll back, you can see we have a nice taper. So when the 3D printer's coming up here, it can go right up there without any supports. All right, that is looking good. If you turn the jar on, yeah, I like it. Okay, so this is a 3-inch diameter jar, 3 inches high, with a 1-inch lid, and this is exactly what I want. So let's send this over to the printer, and we will start printing it. Okay, the one thing, so here you have your 2 parts, right? And we can turn off the sketch, turn off that, and if you turn off the lid, you can see it's perfect. You want to double check everything before. Check the threads, check the inside. Yeah, everything's looking good. Now how you export, so basically you drew these things together, and how you want to export it is separately. So we're going to go ahead, turn off the lid, go up here to File, Export, and you need to export it as a STL. Now it already says STL. I'm going to put jar and hit export, and then I'm going to turn off the jar, turn on the lid, and do the same thing, hit export, and put lid, export. Now I'll show you what happens when so what I'm going to do, I'm going to import them into Bamboo Studio, and the way I'm going to do that is one at a time. So we'll go over here to desktop, and we'll see, we should just see one that says jar, and it's probably over here hiding. So here's a lid, and here's the jar, and go ahead and exit. Now you'll see right away we need to separate these, so we're going to move this one over. The jar is fine where it is, but you can see we don't want to print this upside down. So we're going to go ahead and rotate this 180. So the green, the the Y plane, we're going to put 180, and it should rotate it right over. And so you can see it flipped it upside down. So now that thing is ready to print right there. So we're going to check to make sure we've got enough for the red, because we want to make this in, actually I want to, you know what, we'll make this in green, because I got a full spool of green. And oh, okay, there it goes. Okay, it's connected. Now let's see how long it's going to take. About 3 hours. Now I'd like to print it in white, or I mean in red, but I'm not sure if I have enough red in that spool. So I think what I'm going to do is print it in green. So we'll go ahead and go over to the printer, and it's already got green preloaded. We'll make sure the plate's all cleaned off. Make sure we have an SD card in there so we could do a time lapse, and we'll go ahead and print. And here we go. This is a time lapse, and we're printing on the Bamboo X1 carbon, and it prints pretty fast. It's well, it took 2.5 hours, I think, to print this, but it really came out good, and the threads worked good. And here's a demonstration of the threads. Okay, here you can see it coming out of the printer. Perfect little little container. And the threads, by doing that little taper, you can see it starts real easy. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you next time. Later.
There he goes, it's a working man. He's trying to make a living any way he can. And he'll break his back for $1 or $2. Oh, there ain't no shame in what he do.